Hey guys, welcome back to Cadence RC. Hey, so another massive takes. Hopefully this one is good. I found myself rambling a whole lot in the last video or last take. So hey, today I wanted to talk more about what do we do as a sport to grow this thing, and so I did that video recently talking about what I thought that the sport needs in order to be able to make itself bigger. What does RC racing need to be able to move from being really largely a hobby, as I was saying in the last video, to being something that's bigger, something that we can compare to a bigger sport, a NASCAR, Formula One. Obviously, we don't ever expect it to be like that, but what can we do to make RC racing a bigger sport? And so in the last video, I discussed. I discussed the having your main events be the pros, right? Having, and obviously not on a local level, but on your bigger races, separating the amateurs from the pros and making sure that there's a reason for, and it's easy for the spectators to be able to take in an event, because right now they sort of have to take in everything. Since everybody's included and they're all part of the same program. It's not spectator friendly, right? It's too much time. There's too much watching. People, when they come to watch a sport, they want to watch the best. They don't go to the local high school basketball games. Parents go to local high school basketball games, but they want to watch football or watch basketball. They're going to go to an NFL game, right? Like that's where the sport elevates itself, right? Or college, and so we need that. We need to be able to separate the amateurs from the pros, and I think that's it's probably hard to hear, but it is something that needs to happen. Today, I want to talk about where's the points. So I've been racing now for, as I said in the last video, since November of last year. So I've been at it for like 10 months now, racing RC cars. It's almost September now, and something that I had noticed pretty early on was where's the point structure? Where's the points? So yeah, today I want to talk about that. I want to talk about the lack of a proper point structure within RC racing and what a point structure does for racing in general. So obviously I always go back to the BMX as the analogy, because it's the sport that I have the most experience in personally, and I have a pretty good understanding of point structures and all of that. I don't, it's been a while, things change. I don't know if anything's changed within that sport. So I've raced for BMX for a long time, for like a long time now, but I do know a lot about it. So anyway, yeah, so going into points right now, we go to an event and maybe we have a short series, and maybe the local track operators keep track of points for 5 races, and we race for a trophy, and that's awesome, that's fun. But we need to incentivize, and points are something how we incentivize going to other tracks. And so one of the things that I see within the sport that I wish would change, that I wish would be better for everybody if we had this, is if we had a point structure, there would be a reason to go to more tracks. And so using BMX, like I'm saying, as an analogy, right now, like in BMX, or at least the way it was when I raced, when you went to a local race, you got X amount of points. So say you were racing 19 to 27 expert, you're going to get, I think it was like 25 points per first place, and then less points down the line. But then every race track had what they call a state race, and state races are all double points. And then if you went to a national event, you get triple points. So there's a lot of incentive. So to go to other tracks and to stay. So like say, from an us versus them mentality. Right now, if we've got a local track, right, we've got the outdoor track, and then if we also had an indoor track, we unfortunately lost ours, but we did have 2 tracks that were running off-road, one indoor, one outdoor. And obviously there's classes that are not going to overlap, because outdoor, you're going to run a lot of 8 scale, but indoor, we had 10 scale, and both tracks offered 10 scale. And as it was, there's no incentive for the racer to go to both tracks in the same week, right? Because there's no point structure. There's nothing, you're doing it for fun. There's nothing to gain from it other than experience. And so for the most part, people would pick between which track they, whether it was closer or they like the convenience of indoor, or they like the being outside and doing the outdoor thing. Whatever people's reasoning is for racing indoor versus outdoor, racing at a different track versus another track, people generally pick one and not the other. And if there was a point structure, there would be more reason to go to those other, to go to both tracks and run those cars. But there's more to that, because not only do you gain, obviously you gain the incentive to go to your local tracks, but you also gain incentive to visit other tracks. Because now, like I say, if every race has a state race, maybe I want to spend a summer chasing points. I chased a lot of points one year in BMX, and I think I finished 27th in the state for 20 inch. I think at the time I was 19 to 27. I was actually intermediate, but yeah, I was like the 27th highest points collector that year. And so what was fun about that is, the next year, so I just got my numbers and my stuff on my little truckie. So I've been showing this car lately as I've been doing some upgrades, but I run number 53, and it's just a number. But when I raced in BMX, my number was, so the first year that I raced, I can actually tell you my race number, my race ID number was 8107. So the first year that I raced in BMX, I was 107 was what my plate said. And then the next year, I think I was, racing cruiser, and I think the next year I was like 37th or 38th. And so on my cruiser bike, I ran plate number 37, 38. So out of everybody racing cruiser in the state of Idaho, I collected that's where I sat as far as my points. And then, like say, 1 year in 20 inch, I collected a lot of points. I went to a lot of races. And so, it's fun, right? If you can show up to the races and you're rocking that high number, that low number, right? That shows that you collected a lot of points. You're somebody that people are going to be like, oh, that guy's fast because you show up to a lot of races, and so you probably are fast. And it does incentivize, like I say, going to multiple tracks. That also creates a structure for how we progress within the sport, because right now in RC racing, it's kind of an arbitrary thing. So like when I went to my first race, I raced novice, and then after that I raced, I went into the regular class. I was racing oval cars, and there was no structure. And obviously you have to have a number of people in a class in order to have those structures. So you're gonna move up based on that. But it's the same thing in BMX, right? So when I would go to a race and say I was racing intermediate and I had to race in expert class because I had there were two people that were experts, which isn't enough to make a class, so I get lumped in with the experts. Now I'm collecting expert points at those races, so maybe I don't move up a class because I can't get those first place finishes, but I am collecting the points. And so I still get incentivized to be there. And like I say, anything we can do to make the sport, to encourage people, the more that we can, the better. And then also, if we stop and think about what adding point structures does for the RC community in general, right? So using myself as an example, I have I actually just had recently run for the first couple of times a mini truggy, and I really love racing my little mini truggy, but I broke it at my second race, and I haven't had a chance to fix it yet. And if there was a point structure that was attached to that, if I was racing mini truggy, I would have more incentive to make sure that car was ready to be at the next race, and so it would be better for, it actually improves the cars. It improves, we're going to be better to our local stores from a hobby store standpoint, because we're incentivized to keep our cars in better shape, because we can't just show up. We're not just going to necessarily run the car that we got, and maybe we got a broken one. Maybe, I see a lot of broken RC cars when you look at Marketplace and places, and people are generally when people are selling their RC cars, they're broken. And there would be, I think it would give more reason to make sure that those cars were fixed up and taken care of. And so it also would help with that, right? That we're trying to make sure that our cars are the best that they can be, and that we're as prepared as we can be, because there's something on the line. and it helps. And so anyway, yeah, as far as what do we do for a point structure, I don't know. I'm not a software developer. I don't have the knowledge to be able to create something like that. But that is what needs to happen, right? Is somebody needs to sit down and create the software so that it's easy to do that. And so again, like using BMX as an example. So within BMX, when you race, and I believe it still works the same way, you're going to get a membership to the ABA, to the American Bicycling Association, and you pay. Back then it was $35, and I think to race mountain bikes it was like $65 to be part of. I'm trying to remember what that series. I raced the Norba series, the Northern Idaho. No, not I can't remember. Anyway, racing those different series. But those series, that monies that I put in paid for somebody, for those companies to track my points. And when I raced BMX, I got a magazine, I think quarterly, that showed my points within the industry, and I could track all of that. Now it would be very easy because we have our phones that we'd be able to track our points with, and it would be fun. It would give us more reason to attend events, and it would make the sport look more professional because we would have because you would have hey, this guy, he's getting ready to move into pro, and look what he's done. He's got these accomplishments, and as it is now, it's just not the same. It just doesn't have the same level of professionalism within it to be able to have those like set points where you move. BMX, you move up from novice class after you win 6 races, and and then you move to inter, and I think it's double that. So you win 12, and it might be 7 and 14. I can't remember, but you have this very set number that is how when you're ready to move up from one class to another. And I do think that it would help globally on the sport. I think that it would help everything within the sport, from like I say, from the stores to the racer to the racing on the track, because it would be you would have those proper incentive points to move up. But it would also give that, maybe you are a fast local racer, and it is hard to move up a class. It's discouraging to move up a class, and then all of a sudden you're losing, right? And so maybe so you have that, you show up and you're super fast, and it's like you get to win 6 races in a row because you just happen to be that much faster than all the beginners, right? And then assuming you have a beginner class, because again, you're always going to have that problem. But then and then you move up to the intermediate class, and maybe you get a string of wins, but you're not forced to move out because you had 4 good races. You're forced to move out because you had several good races, and you got to learn, and you got to be a stronger driver by the time you made that step from one class to the next. And I do think that it would help the whole sport. So anyway, this take I'm trying to make be a little bit shorter. I had like 25 minutes in my last one. I was rambling on. So anyway, yeah, I know that these conversations, they're largely just for fun, and probably nobody, the right person, is ever going to see these conversations. And maybe my version of the conversation isn't the correct one, but maybe somebody watches my video and maybe this strikes a chord in somebody, and maybe the sport finds a way to add points and to separate the best from the rest, and make the sport more professional. Is what I would like to see, and who knows? Maybe these are the kind of conversations. Maybe this starts that conversation from again. I'm having this conversation because of what I saw from, and to throw the credit out there to Lefty the Great and Ryan Harris. They were having a conversation. I'm sitting here trying to look up the name of that show. Info, the No Name RC podcast. So to throw credit to those guys, and obviously those guys are much bigger names than I am. I've got a couple of hundred followers compared to those guys that have been big names in the sport for a long time. But maybe the if everybody kind of approaches this conversation from a slightly different angle, maybe we find the right angle, and we find a way to turn RC racing into an even better sport, because I think RC racing is amazing. I'm definitely not doing these because I think that RC is a bad sport in any way, because I think RC racing is incredible, and I feel really fortunate to be part of this, and I've been enjoying watching things change and move around here within our community, and being involved in the different aspects of the RC community, and making friends with the shop owners, and making friends with the people that operate our local tracks, and helping this thing grow, and watching it grow, and being able to be part of something. And yeah, again, I want to see it get even better. So that's the goal, and like I say, maybe this strikes a chord in the right person, and we can see, all of a sudden we might be seeing RC races on a bigger scale, and not more people. I'm saying on a bigger scale as far as how people watching, incentivize the sport to be more respected by the, and you know, because I always, like I've said before, you know, it's not about us as the racers. We're always going to watch. We're going to be interested. We're the ones that are watching the live RC races on YouTube, or have our memberships to live RC and go back and watch our own races. You know, we're watching our friends racing. If they go to like my friend going to the Carpet Nationals, you know, going out and running these races, and but you know, how do we get it so that more people know what we're doing, and that, hey, this is actually really cool. Like getting out and seeing this track that we just got, shout out to Eagle Hills Raceway, this new track that we ran for the first time this weekend is insane and incredible to watch. And I think that if more people knew how incredible these cars are, and the skill level that it takes to run at the highest level, you know, I think that, you know, there's lots of reasons why this sport can be big, you know, much bigger than it is now from a racing standpoint. Because I know I was watching something with on another channel, and they'd mentioned that like the racing community makes up some silly percentage, like 2% of all of RC cars are bought for racing. The rest of it are for just running around at, you know, in people's driveways and going to the park. So yeah, if we can make the sport more professional, I think that we would see more of that. Anyway, thank you so much for watching my video. Please like and subscribe, and I can't wait to see you guys in the next video.